Okay, so before we get too far, I just want to make sure that everybody's in the right place. So just want to kind of reiterate what this training is about. So this training is for you if you are somebody who wants to become a digital nomad and want to start, or maybe have already even started, a service-based remote business. This is also for you if you need some help maybe overcoming some blockers that you've been having so that you can actually start living your dream life. Or if you are someone who's looking to attract high-ticket clients, and if you want to be able to just make good money working from anywhere in the world. Okay, and on the flip side of that, this training is not for you if you are someone who is stuck in, in your old ways and not willing to make some changes, or if you are somebody who doesn't want to be an entrepreneur, and if you are not ready to set goals and actually follow through with them. So, now that we have that out of the way, I just want to touch on, my promise to you guys today is that I'm going to pack as much value as humanly possible into this next, 60 minutes or so. Nothing that I teach you here today is based on theory. It has been proven to work for both myself and all of those that I have mentored and coached. I'm going to reserve some time at the end for questions, but you can feel free to go ahead and send those to us either in the chat directly or directly to me throughout the session. If we don't have time to get to all of them, we will go ahead and follow up with you either via email, or if you can send us your Instagram handle in the chat, and we can follow up with you directly via Instagram. Okay, so you may wonder who I am and why I can help you with this. So just to give you a little background on who I am. My name is Lori, and I am a digital nomad myself and a business success coach with over 15 years of experience mentoring people in the areas of sales, marketing, and business operations. About 5 years ago, my husband, Ben, and I quit our 9-to-5 jobs and sold almost everything that we owned and started our lives as digital nomads and expats when we moved to the Caribbean. And since then, we have started 2 businesses. They were a bit slow, since then I've started 4 businesses, but when we first moved, we started 2 businesses right off the bat. They were slow to start, and life was honestly far from sunshine and rainbows. Even though we were living in paradise, we found ourselves having to revert back to that traditional day job in order to make ends meet as we built our own businesses. I eventually was able to find a job that allowed me to work remotely and gave me the freedom of time and location that I was looking for, that I could use to support myself while I was building my business. But unexpectedly, after only 6 months, I was laid off and my sense of security was gone. And I realized that 9-to-5 life really didn't necessarily give me that sense of security that I was looking for. And I was convinced that I was not meant to continue back in that 9-to-5 life and to keep living that rat race and, feeling stuck. So after a lot of soul searching and about 1,000 resumes being sent out, I changed my path for good. I was, again, sick of that feeling of being stuck and unappreciated, unsatisfied with my work. So I made the decision to officially leave my 9-to-5 life in the rearview mirror permanently. And this was a few years ago. So throughout this journey, though, I did still face my fair shares of ups and downs. A lot of them, if I'm being honest. But once I found the right formula for success as an entrepreneur and digital nomad, things really started to fall into place. I was able to turn things around and to go from part-time side hustler to full-time 6-figure entrepreneur. And I'm not going to pretend that this was easy, because if it was, everybody would be doing it, right? But the freedom for me of having my own business was worth the struggle. And maybe this is something that you guys can relate to. So during this course, you will discover the key shifts that you are going to need to make in order to succeed as an entrepreneur and digital nomad. And you're going to learn how to identify the goals for living the digital nomad lifestyle, what you can do to actually start living the lifestyle while you build your business, the common objections that you are going to face while you're starting this life out, how to move past the fear of leaving your comfort zone, because there will be fear. And then you're going to learn how to do all of this with certainty and without fear. That you can end up like Alexandra, who is one of my most successful clients and a marketing and design agency owner who, when we first met, was dealing with a massive case of imposter syndrome, which we'll touch on a little later. But has now become an expert in her field and is running campaigns for multiple clients. So what do I need from you if you want to lay the foundation to be able to do the same? Well, in the words of Mario Cuomo, there are only 2 rules for being successful. 1, figure out exactly what you want to do, and 2, do it. The only thing standing in the way of us, you and your life as a digital nomad entrepreneur, honestly, is you. And I know that this may sound a bit harsh, but when it comes down to it, we are always our own worst enemies. And we are the ones that stop ourselves from succeeding. So if you truly want to succeed, you do have the power to make it happen yourself. And when it doesn't, you can't blame anyone or anything other than you. So in the past, you've probably had some misconceptions about the life of a remote-based entrepreneur and what that looks like. This old reality probably, looking up on the screen here, probably sounds familiar to you, right? Or if you're just starting out, it may still be your current reality. You've probably been feeling afraid of the financial impacts of living life as a digital nomad. And you maybe you're unsure whether or not you can afford it. And you've probably told yourself that you have to wait until you're able to match your income or even make more before you can actually leave your job and start traveling. And the truth is, though, you don't have to wait. And we'll get into that a little later, but you aren't alone in these feelings. In the US alone, there are over 19 million people who say that they are currently aspiring to become a digital nomad, and another 45 million who actually say that they are considering it but haven't acted on it. So I ask you, which of these are you? And of course, it's far easier to tell a friendly researcher that you're thinking about jetting off to Bali than it is to actually plan and uproot your life and hit the road. So it's a fair question to ask whether these surveys are accurate or just reflect how much Americans are missing travel right now during the pandemic, rather than making the realistic plans for the future. This is what we call wannabe, also known as armchair nomads, because most will not actually follow through with becoming digital nomads. Instead, you're going to follow digital nomads, on Instagram and social media, and you're going to treat the trend almost as a spectator sport and live vicariously through those people who are actually doing it. This phenomenon is also like the huge numbers of people who tell pollsters that they would like to become entrepreneurs, when only a tiny minority of these people actually follow through and start their own business. So is this what you want to do, or do you want the formula to move forward and actually succeed, right? So the truth is that the average digital nomad doesn't really need a lot of money, and they have a budget of only $1,875 US monthly, which, if you set up a service-based business correctly, could be the equivalent of just 1 client per month for you. And in fact, on average, digital nomads are actually saving money, up to $7,000 per year or more compared to their expenses before they started out as a digital nomad. 90% of digital nomads actually say, which is a huge number, by the way, they report being highly satisfied with their work. And can you say that about your job currently, your traditional 9-to-5 job? And if not, are you ready to move forward to become one of those 90%? So if you can create actionable goals rather than just continuing to sit there and spin your wheels, and if you can learn to push past the fears and objections that are holding you back rather than just ruminating and like overthinking them, you will be able to set achievable goals and timelines that set you up for success when it comes to reaching your goal of becoming an entrepreneur and digital nomad. And you know what else? You will gain the confidence that you need in order to push yourself forward and even reach 6+ figures per year in your business. Sounds pretty awesome, right? Okay, so if you want to know how to do this, let's go ahead and dig into what I like to call the mindset is money method. Because when it comes down to it, it does start with mindset. Okay, so my mindset is money method allows you to lay a foundation for success in your business and your lifestyle. This starts with a deep understanding of the digital nomad lifestyle so you can figure out where exactly you fit in. Then, from there, it's time to be what I like to call a goal setter and goal getter, AKA get some actionable goals for yourself that you can actually start moving on. And once you know those goals, you can start your life faster by what I like to call exposing your efficiencies and uncovering skills and opportunities to allow you to start living the lifestyle while you build your business rather than waiting until you're 100% up and running. Once you have these things, these foundational things in place, in terms of your business and your life, you will be mostly ready to go. But in order to actually follow through and become successful in this journey, you are going to need to learn to jump past the judgments of others, which, we'll talk about more, but is something that pretty much everybody's going to face at some point. And then also to overcome your fears around becoming an entrepreneur and digital nomad. And this is not only important, but 100% necessary for you to succeed. So with that said, I want to get right in here and talk about the lifestyle of a digital entrepreneur and what that looks like. So if you're new to this, you may be wondering, what does it mean to be a remote-based entrepreneur, otherwise called, digital nomad entrepreneur? And there are different types of entrepreneurs and different types of nomads. And the glorious part of this lifestyle is that you get to design it specifically to meet your own non-negotiables and to fit the goals that you set for yourself. We'll get into the goals a lot more later. The ideal business, though, for a digital entrepreneur are things such as e-commerce, coaching, social media, web design, event planning, consulting, email marketing, really pretty much anything in the area of digital marketing, honestly. In the areas that make it easiest to make the most money right away that I tend to focus on with my clients are service-based businesses. And those are the types of businesses where you work directly with clients, either in a one-to-one, which is where a lot of people start, or a one-to-many type model, which is when you're starting to scale up typically. So whether that is coaching or event planning or digital marketing, the foundation and the processes look nearly identical. And the first step in starting your own remote-based business is deciding what type of business you should start. And this can definitely change with time, as you grow, this may transition a bit. And better yet, you can actually grow into multiple lines of business and income streams so that you always have something coming in. This is a really great way to give yourself that financial freedom and security. But we all have to start somewhere, though, and why it is good to have one, bigger dream and goal and just focus in on that one main show first, our big ticket business. So when we start, we just need to start with one. Okay, so one business, one niche. That is where you need to start out. And once you have that basis of where to begin with your business, you can then start to actually plan your nomad journey, starting with deciding what type of a digital nomad do you want to be. And, when I first started, I didn't really realize all the options that were out there. So, first question to ask yourself is, where do you want to travel? Do you want to travel throughout your own home country, or do you wish to travel internationally? And some questions, to ask yourself around that when making that distinction for you is, what is most important for you in your travels? Is it, having culture? Because then you may want international. Is it the food? I'm a foodie. I love food. I like traveling and trying new places and new dishes. It may be the ability to easily return home to your friends and family. Maybe you want to be able to be only a few hours away, or be able to be drivable. Maybe it's not having to worry about the headache of passports or visas, or even being in a specific time zone or time zone adjacent. This one is important if you have clients based in a specific geographic region that you need to be available for on their time zone. And then, asking yourself too, like, do you like to fly? Because if not, you may not really be one for a lot of international travel. So there, when it comes to being a digital nomad, there are a lot of misconceptions out there, which we base our decisions on, and I'm guilty of this myself. The first one that I face is, and that a lot of people face, is that you can go anywhere. And while there are truths and fallacies to this one, you can go anywhere. Mostly, some of us may face blockers in terms of our visas and what countries we're allowed to go to, but for the most part, you can go anywhere. But you do have several things you need to consider, starting with, does it make sense with your lifestyle to go anywhere? For example, in my case, I prefer, slow travel is what I like to call it. And because of my other lines of business, though, in order to be aligned with the US time zones, I need to be aligned somewhat because I have client meetings. So for right now, in my case, I'm not going to be spending long periods of time in Asia or New Zealand. But for somebody who is a night owl and is okay with sleeping during the day and staying up at night, you may be the complete opposite, and you may thrive in that environment. So again, these are some misconceptions, but just things that you need to think about. Another common misconception about digital nomads is that they are at the beach or the bar drinking all day, which, wouldn't that be great, right? When I first arrived in the Caribbean after leaving my job 5 years ago, this is how my first few months went, to be honest, and where a lot of my money went. But once that shiny penny effect wore off, I was left with little money and a lot of stress. I had wasted, a lot of time that I could have spent building my business. And this is a trap that you need to be prepared for, so you don't end up back at home working your 9 to 5, feeling stuck. And just want to touch briefly, again, I did skip over an area here, so I want to go back to that. In terms of the different types of nomads, when I was talking about that, is once you've figured out, kind of what some of those answers to those questions we talked about are, is, do you want to travel nonstop? Or are you somebody who prefers to have a home base and make shorter trips throughout the year? If you want to have a home base too, do you want that to be in your home country, or do you want to be what we call an expat or expatriate and live abroad somewhere else? Another option for you which is my preference, is slow travel, which is somewhere in between, the nonstop, quick, fast travel and the expat life. And this is where you stay in a destination for longer periods of time, typically at least a month, but up to a year. Once you pass that year, you can probably consider yourself a resident there and an expat. A lot of digital nomads start out traveling to and either slow or fast travel, but then they find a place that they really fall in love with and they decide to stay there and call it home, and then they become an expat. Another thing to ask yourself too is when you visualize your life of travel, is it alone? Is it with a significant other, your family or friends? Or are you someone who needs, you thrive on community? Because there are communities out there that travel together and stay together in specific destinations. So if you're a solo traveler, you may want to focus your travel around, bigger metropolitan areas where you can easily meet others and get around safely on your own. Or, as a solo traveler, you also may want to join one of those communities and travel with others that, give you that sense of security. Something like Wi-Fi Tribe or Remote Year are a couple of those to look into. And if you have a family, it doesn't mean that you can't be a digital nomad, but you do really need to consider your budget. If you have a family of 5, it's going to cost you 5 times as much as a solo traveler to get around. So you need to ask yourself if it is feasible for you to hop around via air to multiple cities, or if you may be better off, investing some money into an RV and doing the RV life or expat life. And then again, asking yourself your preferred way to travel, whether that's by air, train, van, RV, or even water. When I first started out, my husband is really into sailing and he wanted to travel the Caribbean on a boat. After moving to the Caribbean, we realized we didn't want this lifestyle, and I'm glad that we actually figured that out before we went and bought a boat and started doing it, and we're miserable. So just some things to consider there. Okay, so in order to avoid falling into some of the misconceptions and the traps that I mentioned, you want to set goals that actually get you going and be a goal setter and goal getter, as I said. And I like to do this and to get my clients doing this by setting SMART goals for themselves, which are goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So, an example of that would be instead of saying something like, I want to be a digital nomad, pretty generic, right? You would say, I will be working remotely from Mexico, or enter whatever destination you want to be in there by December of 2021. Very specific, it has a lot of detail around it so that I know exactly what I'm shooting for. And another one would be, instead of saying, I want to be a digital marketer, generic, I would say, I'll start my own digital marketing agency focused on Facebook ads by the end of 2022, etc. So just the point is be very specific, because the more specific you can be, the more likely you are to actually achieve your goals. And then when you set these goals, the next step is going to be, chunking them down, into smaller, more achievable things that aren't so overwhelming. I like to call this the 1-3-5 rule, and really, you can look at it backwards in 5-3-1, because I like to start with the big goals, which are the 5-year goals. And where do you see yourself 5 years from now? So just think about that. Take a second to think. And then think about, what about 3 years from now? What does that life look like for you? How much money are you making? Where are you? What are you doing? And what does that lifestyle look for you? And then 1 year from now, when you think about your business and your life, where do you want to be? Do you want to be, stuck where you are right now, wherever that may be, in LA or New York? I know we had some people out there. Or do you want to be traveling? And how much money do you need in order to do that and to feel secure? So think about that. And, from there, I like to actually back it down further and then break it into quarterly, monthly, weekly, and even daily goals for myself. Those are a lot smaller, more like task-based, but breaking them down makes them seem more achievable, and so you don't get overwhelmed. Okay, so in order to get you going on this, we are actually going to take some time here to work through some goals together. So if you don't have, a pen or an extra screen to be typing on a Google Doc or something, please grab a pen and paper, because we are going to do some goal setting. Okay, so to start with, we're just going to think here quickly. I want you to think of 3 potential goals that you've been thinking about that you would like to get more specific on. You know, and if you don't feel like, I don't think that you probably don't have any goals, so try to think of what those are. If you don't have goals though that you can think of right at top of mind when it comes to your business and your lifestyle, and you're not sure where to start, just ask yourself a few questions to get going. I'm going to give you a few ideas here just to get the you know, ideas churning. Number one, where do you want to be 5 years from now? And again, think about money, think about what type of business, think about where you want to be living or traveling to, who you're with, etc. Like get real detailed on that vision. And then another question you can ask yourself is, what countries do you want to visit and by when? You know, I know, you know, I want to visit every country in the world, but all of us, I think, that want to be digital nomads and want to travel, we have an idea of what we want, right? So think about what that is for you, what, you know, where you want to go and by when. The next question to ask yourself is, what income would you like to be making a year from now, 3 years, 5 years from now? Get really specific, because you know what your financial obligations are, and then you know what kind of a lifestyle you want, because you can live in a hostel or, you know, do couch surfing.com or something, stay somewhere for free and survive on next to nothing. But if you want to live in, you know, luxury Airbnbs, your budget's going to be a little different. So start to just kind of think what that all looks like. And then think about how often you plan to travel. And again, these are just some to get you started. You can ask yourself any other goals. So right now, like I said, just think. You don't need to necessarily write these yet. We're going to move on to the next step where you're going to get a little more specific. So of these 3 goals that you're thinking of now, I want you to think about which one has to happen first. You know, so ideally we want to look right now at the 1-year goals, but if you don't have a 1-year goal yet, that's fine. Just pick one of the 3 that has to be achieved first. Okay, so now that you've narrowed it down to that 1 key goal, we're going to walk you through some additional steps here to help you get really clear on that goal so that you can make it something that you can start taking action on literally today, like as soon as we are done with this class. Okay, so step number 1 is to now write down that goal and do that in as few words as possible. Right now, you don't need to worry about being specific. We're going to go through the exercise. So just write down that goal. I'll give you a minute here. Okay, so in step number 2, we're going to start adding some detail to the goal, right? And we're going to make it specific, the S, okay? And this is when we answer the who, what, where, when, how type questions, and where you need to ask yourself how you will reach your goal. And be sure here to, again, be very specific and to list at least 3 action steps that you will take to achieve this goal. And here, be as specific as you can. If you have more than 3 action steps, that's great. Write those down. I'm going to pause just for a moment to give you guys a little time to make sure that you're caught up. So here we need to have our 1 goal and at least 3 action steps that we are going to take, and being specific with the who, what, where, when, how type things to how we're going to reach it. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, so from there, we are going to make our goals measurable, and we're going to do this by establishing how we can measure or track our goals. So if you're still going with the other part, that's great. Keep going, but while you're still doing that, then you know, I want you to also think about the measurable piece, which is the M in the SMART goals. If you have certain financial goals, for instance, you may track this using like a budgeting app or worksheet, or if you want to, you know, go to a specific country and you know that it takes some time to get the visa or something, you know, whatever that goal is, you know, make sure it's your business or your lifestyle though, and how you're going to track it. Okay, so hopefully here now you have, your goal written down, you have at least your 3 action steps, and you have at least one way written down that you will measure or track that goal. Okay. So next, how will you know that you reached that goal? Okay. And this is also part of that measurement. If your goal was financial, for instance, what is the dollar amount you need to hit? Either whether that's in your account or, on a monthly, weekly, annual basis. So it might be, my goal is to hit $20,000 per month, or I want to always have at least $10,000 in my checking account, etc. So be really specific about, and maybe if your goal isn't financial, of course, whatever that means for you, but how do you know that you've succeeded? What does success look like? Okay. So I'm going to keep going, and we'll go through these next few steps, and then we're going to take another pause again. So if you're not done, that's fine. You can come back to that in a minute. So now that we have a specific goal in mind, we know how we're going to track it. We need to make sure that it is actually attainable. And while it is great to have big goals, if you can't define the clear path to reaching them, you may need to rethink them, okay? So in step 4 here, we want to talk about the things that you need in order to reach success, and we have attainable, the A, to reach that success within our goals, okay? So the questions to ask yourself here are, what do I need in order to achieve this goal? Where will I find the time? Because I'm going to be honest, if you aren't ready to put in the time, this is going to be really hard for you, because starting out as an entrepreneur, like the goal is to, yes, have, the 4-hour work week and to, have passive income, etc. But when you are starting out and you're still working a 9-to-5 job, you are going to have to put in some time. So figure out where that will come from. I'm giving up Netflix maybe. And then ask yourself, what do I need to research or learn more about in order to reach this goal? And then ask yourself, is there anyone out here who I can talk to for support, such as a mentor or a coach? Get really clear on these actions, because without clarity here, you will not be able to successfully set yourself up to achieve. And again, not trying to be harsh, I'm just being very honest that you need to be very, very clear and concise on these. Okay, so I'm going to pause again for 1 minute so that you guys can catch up. So again, who can you talk to? What do you need to research? Where will you find time? What do you need in order to achieve your goals? Answer these questions for yourself. Okay, so now for the R. How to make your goal relevant. What do you want? Why do you want to reach this goal? And how is it relevant to you and your life or your business? This one should be pretty simple. Again, what is it? You need to travel. You love to travel. You want freedom. Whatever that is, write that down now. Okay, so finally here, the time to cross our T's and make our goals timely and finish up the SMART. So what does this mean? We now need to assign a deadline to reaching our goal, and then also set some benchmarks, which are kind of some of those mini goals that you'll break down, probably into your quarterly, monthly, etc. And make sure that you are realistic with those timelines, because it really sucks when you set an unrealistic timeline and then you fail to actually meet it, because then you start to beat yourself up. So it's a lot easier to just set a realistic goal for yourself and then maybe finish ahead of time versus not meeting that goal. Okay, so now that we have all of the steps to reach a SMART goal, I'm going to pause for one more minute here while you complete this goal, okay? Okay. Almost time here. So just finishing up, hopefully. Okay, so you should now have in front of you one very clear and very SMART goal. And when you put all of these pieces together, that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, so that you can begin taking action right away. You can use the same formula for creating the framework for all of your goals, whether they are weekly, monthly, quarterly, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, or even 10-year goals. By using this method, it makes it easy to set clear, concise, and achievable goals for yourself. Sorry. So I personally like to look at my goals, on a quarterly scale. So I have my, 3, 5, 1 year, but then I break it down by quarter. And then every quarter, like to reassess as needed at the beginning of the new quarter. And then within each of those quarters, I like to take that and then break it down into monthly, weekly, and even daily tasks to stay on track. So for example, your annual goal might be to leave your 9 to 5. So in quarter 1, your goal would be to get your first client. And then in month 1, your goal may be to create an offer. And then week 1, to reframe your negative beliefs and fears around this lifestyle. And day 1, which is today, okay, so this is day 1, to set 1, 3, and 5 year goals for yourself. And then to also define your quarterly goals and monthly goals. You don't need to set out all of your daily goals for the year. Really, it's like I said, looking at that 1 year goal and then establish your quarterly and monthly. And then, like each month, I like to break my goals down into each week. And then at the beginning of each week, I like to break it down into my daily goals and tasks to be able to stay on track to reach those. Okay, so great work, guys. Hopefully you have at least one good goal, and I really encourage you to take some time today after this course and take those other goals that you came up with at the beginning, those other 2 goals, and to do the same process so you have 3 solid goals for yourself that are very, very specific. Okay, so now that we have those goals in mind, I want to talk about the next steps to actually getting there, right? Which is the big goal. So when many of us start out, we tend to see the black and white of the entrepreneurial journey. Maybe you have to achieve X before I can achieve Y, usually something to do with finances. Like I need to make a certain amount of money before I can leave my job. But we fail to say the gray in between that. Okay, and what do I mean when I say the gray area? Well, this may mean that, or we've been led to believe, I guess, that we had to take a certain path in life, but in reality, we are the writers of our own novels. Okay, the path we take is the one that we choose to design for ourselves. No matter what anybody tells you, that is true. So what does this mean? It means that you need to take a really good look at your life, and your ideal life from every angle. So how is it now, and how do you want it to be? What are the shortcuts you can take to get from where you are, which is likely, stuck in a job that you're not happy with, to where you want to be, working for yourself, traveling the world. And when you expose your efficiencies, you uncover things that you may be skilled at and opportunities that you may not have seen before that allow you to reach your goals faster. And this is the gray area. Great, thank you, Allie. I'm glad that is helping you. Awesome. So the business you're starting may take some time. If you're lucky, this may only be a few months, but more likely it will be several months, possibly longer, before you start seeing like really great profits that are significant. And this doesn't mean that you should sit back and just wait for that to happen. It means that you should think outside the box. How can you reach your goal of travel and working remotely as soon as humanly possible, while you also work on building your business? So if you find things that you are efficient and proficient at, this will allow you to start your life now rather than later. Okay, so you can start by answering this question for yourself, which is, what do you currently do? And is this something that can be done remotely? For some jobs, the answer may be no. But for those of you who can answer yes, your first step to achieving the nomad life may already be laid out for you and can be achieved way more easily than you thought. And how, you may say? Well, consider asking your boss if you can work remotely in your current job. If you're not sure how, by the way, watch your inbox for more on this. We'll be sending an email. If you can tolerate your job that you're doing currently, but you just want to get started with living your remote life while you build your business, why not consider this as an option? Obviously you can't tell your boss the end goal of starting your own business, but now more than ever with the pandemic, remote work is becoming the norm, and it is totally acceptable for you to go ahead and ask for this with your job. So that is the first place to start, right? So, okay, maybe your job can't be done remotely, or maybe you are ready to move on. This is where we need to consider our hidden skills and really expose those efficiencies, okay? Perhaps you have, amazing video or photo editing skills, and maybe it's just a hobby that you've been doing. Or perhaps you're a really great writer, or you have a knack for sales. These are all totally marketable skills and things that you could do on a freelance basis right now. Or you can even use these to go out and get other remote-based jobs if you're not wanting to do the freelance thing yet. But when figuring out your hidden skills and exposing your efficiencies, you need to ask yourself these questions, okay? So number one, what other skills do you have? And that could be in your personal or work life, just whatever it is. It could be a hobby, it could be things that you do for your current job, but what do you have? And what do other people tell you that you are good at? What excites you? Like what really gets you going, okay? Because there may be something out there where you can make money doing that while you build your business. And then, do you already know what type of business you want to start, or have you already started it? And can you try to start doing something that aligns with that and will help you to actually grow your business at the same time? And then there's other opportunities out there that I like to touch on, okay? Another popular option for a lot of people is teaching English online. There are lots of different services out there which have different pros and cons and different requirements for their teachers. Some require, a bachelor's degree, some don't. So do your research. The catch on this one is that you generally need to be a native English speaker, or you need to be extremely fluent. But there are other languages that have similar opportunities out there. English just tends to be by far the most popular and easy opportunities for you to find. And just on the same note of languages, if English isn't necessarily your first language and you speak, for instance, Chinese or something, there's opportunities out there for online translators and they pay pretty well. So that's another option for you there. Remote customer service jobs are more common than ever these days. And while they are no means glamorous, these entry-level roles are fairly easy to come by right now and easy to land because they don't require a lot of experience. The downside to these jobs, though, is that they do tend to be schedule-based, which means, you have scheduled shifts that you are expected to be there for because you're, answering calls and chats, etc. So, there's not going to be as much flexibility in your schedule as there may be with freelancing or even teaching English, where you are more in control of your schedule. So, those are a couple options as to where you can get started out in terms of remote work. But another area that I wanted to touch on that could get you traveling a lot faster is travel and work options. And these are good options for you if you aren't quite yet as tech savvy as you'd like, or you would prefer to maybe just do some hands-on work so that it doesn't conflict with your online business and what you're doing to do that. So you're not at the computer all day while you build your business. But you still want to travel the world and you need to do some type of work, right? And yes, Kareem, I just saw your note there, and we'll do some questions at the end. And any that we don't get to, if you drop your Instagram handle, I will go ahead and follow up with a message for you. Okay, so these travel and work options, these are good options, again, for people that maybe just want something alternative. So one that I like to recommend for people is a program called Workaway, and it's workaway.info. This is an international program that allows travelers to pay for their room and usually food. A lot of times it's cooked for you even, by helping their host out with household work needs, projects, or odd jobs. So I've literally seen people out there that are taking care of people's kids, like doing nanny work. I've seen opportunities for help planting a garden or remodeling a house. So literally tons of opportunities out there. Another one is woof.net. They call this woofing, worldwide opportunities on organic farms. This generally includes room and board, maybe meals or access to food in exchange for your work on their organic farm. Now, both of these first two options generally are just, room and board, and they do require a fair amount of work. So you probably need to at least have some savings to live on beyond that for anything additional that you want to do, or have some other form of part-time income. Another option is housesitter.com. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It is people who need house sitters to look after their homes, maybe their plants, possibly even their pets. So in exchange for doing that for them, and probably cleaning their house, getting their mail, etc., you get a free place to stay. And this one is a really great option because it's all things that you would be doing no matter where you live for yourself. You're just doing it for somebody else. And then you will have a bunch of free time to work on your business while you're not paying for a place to stay. And then another one, and this one is relevant for those of you who would be traveling with significant others, or maybe even as a family, and that is workingcouples.com. It is a job board for couples-based jobs. And the job types are typically, for management couples or domestic couples. And what I mean by that, management, it's either, I've seen a lot of opportunities for managing bed and breakfast or small boutique resorts and hotels. And the domestic couples thing is, managing households for generally wealthy couples, so one person might be a housekeeper, another person might be a chef or something along those lines. And these opportunities vary. Sometimes they're short-term or seasonal even. And then sometimes they're longer-term jobs. So, they need to align with your goals, but it is a great opportunity. I have noticed that the heaviest concentration of these jobs tend to be in US, Central America, and the Caribbean. So if those are areas that are interested, you can check that out for sure. So, okay, moving on. So jumping past the judgment. So now that you know where and how to start your life as a digital nomad and how to set your actionable goals for your business and your life, what's next? One of the hardest parts for most of us as digital nomads is being apart from our friends and family. We love them. But yet when we first start out, they are our biggest critics. And when you tell them what you are planning to do and what you want to do, whether that's starting your business, traveling the world, or both, they will most likely look at you with like wide eyes and tell you that you are crazy or something along those lines. Is this because they really think you're crazy? Probably not. But is it because they don't understand the lifestyle, what it means, and why you would want to live it? Yes, most likely. So you're going to probably be trying to convince them for quite some time why this is the best thing for you, why it's a good idea. I'll be honest, 5 years in, I still am convincing some of my own family of this, even though I'm happy and successful, they don't understand. So, it's possible that they may even convince you that they're right. And many entrepreneurs fall into this trap. So I just want you to be prepared so that you don't get sucked back in there. The people who love you and are afraid for you to fail, or sometimes even worse, they may be jealous of your happiness and unconsciously make it a mission to stop you from being able to move forward. So what are the types of things that they're going to say to you? Well, our core support systems can become less supportive when they think that you are doing something risky and or that will pull you away from them. So the first line of defense tends to be scare tactics. They will ask you why you would want to give up your job, car, home, comfort zone, etc. They are going to warn you about how so-and-so got mugged when they went to Mexico, or how dangerous Costa Rica is. Like they're an expert on all places everywhere, even though they've never been there. So, after the scare tactics, they're going to probably turn to guilt, and do the poor them thing. How could you leave me? How could you do this? What about holidays? Will you ever come home and visit? What if so-and-so gets sick and you won't be here? Don't you love me? They're going to grasp at straws and will keep going until they break you down or until you stand up to them. Is it possible to overcome this? Well, yes, it is. But this depends on you in terms of how easy that will be. If you're close to your family, they will likely have a bit of a hold on you, which will make it more difficult, and their tactics are going to grind you down. It may even cause you to have second thoughts about your choices, but you need to remind yourself that you are the master of your own life, and the path that you take is yours to determine, not your family's. You can love them, but you can still live a life that makes you happy and fulfilled. So I know it's all fine and good, but that doesn't necessarily tell you how to overcome them. I want to be conscious. I know we're coming up on the hour here. So just quickly, one or two of the questions that they're going to ask you would be that, how could you leave me, mom, dad, siblings, your neighbor's dog, whoever, and your comeback should be, who said I was leaving you or them? You're welcome to come visit me whenever you'd like. I'd love it. And I plan to come back and visit you. And there's also video calling. We may even find that we will spend more quality time together, which is actually very common for digital nomads and expats, because when you only have, maybe a few weeks to spend with your family and friends, you really make the most of that versus, living an hour away from them. You probably saw them, once or twice a month, for family dinners, etc. But now you're spending 2 weeks with them, like packing in everything you can into one day. Okay, so another quick one that you'll hear is, what will you do for money? And I would come back with, well, you've never really been concerned about what I did for money before. What worries you now? Turn it around on them, ask the question. And if you feel the need to further justify or respond to them, try this approach and say, well, I'll do what I've always done. I will work. I'm just going to be doing it from anywhere I want in the world. Or if you're feeling bold, just give them straight up honesty and see how they react. Tell them, I started a business. It's just starting up, but I will be making enough to pay my bills. And I will work online as a freelancer or get a part-time job doing customer service, etc. And even better, if you already have the part-time gig lined up or a consistent side income coming in from your business, let them know that. Once you demonstrate to them that you've thought this out, you'll have security, they're much more likely to back off. So, well, this is just a small sample of what you're going to hear. My recommendation before you tell anybody what you're planning to do with becoming a digital nomad and entrepreneur is to practice some questions that you expect to hear from them. Some of the ones that I did here, add in the others that you think will come from your family, and just jot down the answers so that you're prepared, and rehearse even if you feel like you need to, if they have a strong hold on you, so that you are prepared. Awesome. Okay, so going to keep moving here quickly. So facing your fears. There are many fears that you will face as an entrepreneur and digital nomad, and that is 100% normal. But how you choose to tackle them and overcome them is what will determine whether you will be able to face them, but also move, not only to face them, but to move past them, right? So, some of those fears that you can expect, that you should be prepared for, are going to be important to just be prepared for those. Okay. So the ones top 5 that come to mind for me are, the fear of failure, which is pretty self-explanatory, I think. But I'm going to dive a little deeper quickly into that one. The fear of the unknown and the fear of change. Fear of disappointment, like what if you get to Bali or Costa Rica and it's just not as awesome as you expected, or whatever that looks like. We're going to fear that because you spent a lot of money and time to get there. So another one is the financial fear, and this is the big one for a lot of us, wondering how we're going to make ends meet. And imposter syndrome, the fear of not being good enough. This is a big one, and I think it's something that we will face as entrepreneurs a lot in our careers. It's not just something that goes away, but learning how to overcome it and believe in yourself and your offer and the solutions that you provide to people is going to be really important. And the more you do it, the more confident you get and the easier this is going to become for you. But when it comes to failure, I want to step back to that quickly. That fear of failure is what forces us to play it safe. We feel stuck and we feel shackled and unable to break free from those chains, unable to cut the cord that binds us to those fears. Never feeling like we're quite able to reach the other side of the rainbow. And the truth is that when you live in fear, you will always play it safe. You have to get out of that cycle. The other options, honestly, they feel too painful or too difficult, and that is what stops us. But let me ask you this. What are you so afraid of? Like, think about that right now, please. What is holding you back from pushing the limits of your comfort zone? I've personally been there, but you know what? It is okay to fail. It really is. Failure, or the obstacle, is the way to your success. I like to call it failing up, because the more you fail, then means the closer you are to succeeding. And when you're going through failure, it definitely hurts. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't. But what's worse is that fear of failing. And when you actually reach that point of no return, though, it really isn't so bad. And actually, failure will fuel you way more than success ever will, because it makes you want to try harder. And some of the most famous people out there have failed before making it big, if you need a little inspiration. So I'm going to give you a couple of quick examples here. Oprah. I think everybody here probably has heard of Oprah, right? Oprah was actually fired from what she called her dream job before she became the Oprah that we know today, the billionaire, like one of the richest people in the world. Another one is Michael Jordan from the Chicago Bulls basketball team. He was actually cut from his high school basketball team. And he is one of the most well-known NBA players out there. Okay. Another one, and this one is really my favorite, is Walt Disney. Walt Disney was fired from the Kansas City Star because his editor felt that he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Like, seriously, Walt Disney, Disney World, no imagination. Can you imagine that, right? But what would have happened if he wouldn't have kept going? So do me a favor. The next time that you hear that negative voice in your mind, please fight back. Do something outside of your comfort zone, no matter how small that is. Don't play it safe. Don't listen to the haters. Go out there and throw caution to the wind and start achieving some goals. So with that said, if you can understand the lifestyle and get a really good grasp on that, and you can set the goals that are going to get you there and stick to them, expose your efficiencies and uncover your hidden skills, recognize judgment and know how to jump past it, and then understand the fears that hold you back and actually have confidence in your ability to overcome them. You can set goals that will actually set you up to be hitting 6 figures in your business within 12 months. And you can get started on actually living your life as a digital entrepreneur and nomad right now rather than later. And you can overcome these blockers that have been holding you back from reaching your goals of starting your business and becoming a digital. So imagine, just picture it, okay? Here, close your eyes for a second, everyone. I know I can't see you, but hopefully everybody's closing their eyes. So if you could set achievable goals that allow you to start taking action today, and if you could start your life as a digital nomad right away instead of waiting until you're fully able to replace your 9-to-5 income, and imagine if you could build a 6-figure business that would allow you to confidently live the lifestyle you desire without fear or uncertainty, you could end up like Victoria. It was a great example of success here, okay? Victoria is a lead generation agency owner. And, less than a year ago, she was feeling stuck in her 9-to-5 life. She wasn't happy and she knew she wanted something more. She set a goal for herself to start her own agency. And when she started, she was looking at 2 years. But after starting her agency and getting really niched down and specific about her market, after just 7 months, she hit 10K and is on track to hit way more than that by month 8. Okay, guys, so what is next is what you're probably asking yourself here. So, I gave you some great goal setting tools. So if you want to actually watch your email, there are going to be some links so that you have some worksheets to help you through that. And I do ask that you spend some good time, even, today, working on your goals. But even if we today had 4 hours together instead of just, the 60 minutes, it would be hard, almost impossible to create that lasting change, to give you the full extent of the benefits of all that I could give you. And no matter how good anyone is, and I like to think that I'm better than most, but one measly training isn't going to get you, really get you going on creating the change in your life that you want and deserve. You need more than that, okay? So while I know what I've given you today was incredibly valuable, it's frankly just the tip of the iceberg. And if you like what we've shared so far, you'll love what I have for you next, okay? You see, before doing this training, I was faced with one of 2 choices. And the first choice is that I could share just, what I've shared so far. We could part ways, and you could, then just hope that on your own you can make a go of it. Or my second option would be that, I take a more active role and responsibility for your success to create a situation where our relationship could actually evolve from, this one and done type of a deal to an ongoing, growing, and mutually rewarding relationship. Okay, so here's the deal. there are three paths that you can take, okay? And three types of people really that I see. So the first person loves learning. They take tons of notes, but then they close their notebook after they're done and they don't really do anything with all those notes they've taken. They don't know where to go. The second path and that second person is the person that will do things. They will take the notes, they'll start to brainstorm and set goals. They'll do all the exercises we outlined here, but in about a week or so, they're going to be unsure of where to go from there, and they're going to fizzle out. And they don't have that accountability in place to actually do the things that they know that they need to do. And then there's the third type of person. And these are the people that are the achievers. And they take notes, they take actions, but they also have accountability. And they get the personalized feedback to make sure that they're on the right path and that what they're doing is the right way for them, okay? And honestly, I do love all of these people. I've been all of these people myself, but you need to think about you and think for yourself. Do you want to be the person that just takes notes, that goes at it alone, or do you want to be the person that is achieving and the one that is making this time the time that it actually works? Okay, so just sit in that for a moment and really think about what you want for your future. So, now if you are a number three, and you're the type of person who really wants to see this work for yourself so that you can become a digital nomad and a six-figure entrepreneur in the next year, then please go ahead and book a follow-up 15-minute strategy session with me so that we can review your goals, the ones that you set here today and any that you set right after this call. We'll dig into those goals and we will figure out exactly what steps you need to focus on first to make your dreams a reality in 2021, okay? So Matthew is going to drop the link in the chat here, so please go ahead and click that link if you want to sign up. It's also on the screen here if you want to take a screenshot to do that later. But really, I'm so excited to help you guys along in this journey and to help you get to those next steps. So it's no pressure. Again, just want to help you get started on your goals. So go ahead and book that strategy session. Okay, so some of you guys have been sending questions throughout the presentation. We have just a few minutes here because I did go over the hour mark, which I promised you that we try to keep it to an hour. So I'm just going to answer a few questions that I have seen coming in from multiple people. And then any that we don't get to today, we're going to send kind of a little follow-up email in the next couple of days here answering some of your questions. But if you want to make sure that your question is specifically answered, please go ahead and send us your Instagram handle now, and we will follow up in a direct message with you and answer your question specifically, okay? Okay, so got a question here from, it looks like Kent in Pennsylvania. So question is, will I be able to survive as there are many wannabe digital nomads? How am I going to stand out? Well, the key to standing out, honestly, is figuring out how to niche down and to get to really know your market and your offer and have confidence in your offer and to have good marketing. Okay? Because as much as we want to be business owners, first we have to be good marketers. When you find that good market and that niche, you need to really get to understand and know that audience and know the people that you're talking to and the solutions that you provide. You need to be able to present your offer with confidence and, to use effective sales and marketing techniques that you test, different strategies to see what works best for you, okay? And I'm not going to pretend this is going to be easy peasy, but if you do the research and you do the testing, to find out what works best and monitor and adjust as needed and pay attention to the data, this is going to be much easier and growth will happen much more quickly for you. And again, that accountability piece, I do again recommend a coach, whether it's me or anybody else, just having that accountability piece in that paid mentorship role, that someone that will be there for you, or your option otherwise would be to have an accountability partner, but please make sure that that is somebody that is like-minded, who is also an entrepreneur and or digital nomad, so that they can hold you accountable. Don't pick, your brother who wants to work on the family farm and never leave, because his goal is not similar to your goal and he's not going to want to keep you accountable for it. Okay, so last question I'm going to cover today here is from Regina in the UK. And that is, how much do I need to have together before approaching the market with my offer? Truth be told, not much. Your program or service, whether you're a coach, a social media strategist, a full stack agency owner, or pretty much any other service-based entrepreneur, it's going to be based on the needs of the market. Okay. So, you're going to do the research and find your market and your target audience, and ask the questions, so you can see what the need is. So why would you waste, possibly hundreds of hours building out a single solution that may not be what's needed at all? You need to get out and talk to people and hear what's out there. So, you can have your offer in place, but as you design, your program, your solution, you can be doing that as you go and as you're bringing clients in, okay? And as you're building your marketing and your website and everything else. When I work with clients, we start, with some mindset work. We build their offer and their program as we go, because they are testing it against clients and against the market and getting out there and having conversations, okay? So we narrow down the niche, uncover the market, and test. And that is really what it comes down to when you're putting your offer out there. So that is the last question I'm going to answer today, guys, because again, I want to respect your time. Again, just want to give a last call. Go ahead, book an appointment. That'll be about a 10 to 15 minute call, or drop your Instagram handles for more questions. And you should all have my email. You can also send us an email with your questions if you prefer. Okay. Well, I just want to, again, thank everybody for being here today, and to just encourage you to go out and be a goal getter, set those goals. Again, you're going to get some tools to help you with that process here in the next couple of days. So keep an eye on your email, and set those goals and follow up and let me know how it's going. I want to make sure that this is working for you. And if you have questions, do reach out and ask us. So thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I appreciate you showing up today.